Very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to ICF Travel Series Break Free. And today's session is a follow up of last session by Indraneel. And today also, like Indraneel will be one of the speakers, and we thank him for introducing three more wonderful gentlemen: Nilakya Datta, Tanet Das, and Bernard. Nilakya, Tanyan, and Bernard are going to be a part of the Zanskar photography tour, which we are covering in today's session. And while Nilakya and Tanay will take care of the photography part, Bernard will be involved in the tour as a publisher because the end product of the tour is going to be a book that Bernard will bring out. So during the session, he will tell us more about how he got interested in this concept, which is very interesting for us editors. And Tanay is going to tell us more about astrophotography. Nilakya, he has his own travel agency. He will share his experiences of how this tour came about, and we hope he will share some great footage and some nice photographs of the terrain also. Indranil will be joining us later during the session. So I hand it over to you, Nilakya, to start the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Vivek. So, my name is Nilakya Dasta, and so today we are here together to talk about the upcoming Zanskar tour that is going to happen from the 31st of August of this month. Sorry, 31st of July. Uh, and is going to be till the 13th of August. So, it's a 13 night, 14-day tour that we have organized. So, talking about my banner under which this tour is happening. Okay, am I audible properly? Is
Your
my voice
audio
clear
is
now?
not proper, like it's fluctuating. I think some loose connection seems to be there at your end.
Yeah. Is it clear now?
Yeah, yeah, now it's fine.
Great. So this tour is happening under my banner. The name of the venture that I've recently started is called the Scape. So basically, I'll first tell you about how this thought came
Nilakya,
upon,
Nilakya,
how
you're not audible.
this tour. Yeah, yeah,
Nilakya, you're not audible. Your voice is
yeah.
breaking.
Am I able now? Okay, is it clear now? Okay, okay. All right. So I guess I'll just change my location and I'll see if the voice is working better.
Meanwhile, maybe Bernard, you can share something.
All right. Hello, everyone. I run a book publishing and a media company by the name of Raindrops. And I've been publishing since 2014 onwards. And, as a publisher, it's always fun to work with creative people, be creative writer, creative artist. So when Nilakya came up with this thought of, going to this Zanskar place and then clicking pictures and getting them into ebook of a format like, or he wanted to basically put it on the website. So I mentioned to him, why don't we get it published like a photo book or maybe a coffee table book? Because over the last few years, I have worked with the photographers. So I could just show one of the books that I was talking to. So it's going to be like a picture of the place and some details about it, like how and why we should visit this place. And the reason why I mentioned to him is because every time we go to Himalayas or go to Leh Ladakh or go to the mountains, we always see a different view, right? So because it keeps changing every second day. And once you have a book like this, and with the people who are traveling with their signatures inside, with the whole map of the place, it gets easier and you could start gifting it to your friends, your family. Apart from that, this book is also going to be available on Amazon, Flipkart, other e-commerce platforms. and also few bookstores where these books would be available. So apart from you, your friends, a family, you know, we have been hearing, for creative people, we always have been hearing saying that why are you doing this? Why are you wasting your time with photography or writing or poetry? So I think this book would be something which you could always gift it to them, saying that look, this is the whole thing. What I've done, I've gone to this beautiful place and I've clicked some really beautiful pictures. I think Nilak is in. Yeah, I was just trying to explain to them how it.
Yeah, you can continue. You can continue. After that, I'll start.
Okay. So my main intention was that every photographer or anyone who's passionate for photography, this would be an ideal book. And I was explaining to them how, like, you have a picture of the place and you have some details written about that place. And earlier, if you remember, we had photography books which are like big and huge in size. So now we have just got it to this smaller size, and this would be my some. I guess this is my 10th publishing book that I've got it out on photography. So, and you could also call it as a coffee table book. So very easy, very sleek, easy to send to someone, and easy to just place it on a coffee table and while having a conversation. It could be a good, very well icebreaker as well. You like it?
Great, great. So basically, the concept of publishing a book actually came onto my mind, wherein, I mean, it's not only going to be the photographs of the photographers who are on the tour. So it is going to be the photographs of the participants who are going to be, I mean, in the tour photographing those places. So we also understand that there are going to be photographers, I mean, who are amateurs, and there are going to be photographers who are already established in their field. So we on this tool, we actually would be working on the concept of travel, share, and learn. So we'll be traveling together. We'll be sharing the photographs that we would be taking throughout the day over the dining table during the evening. And then we would be learning from each other. So let's say, I mean, if someone has not been able to capture a good image, then probably the other person would be helping that person in understanding that what is the correct form, or what setting he should have used, or what frame that person should have taken. So in that manner, we are going to be, I mean, going ahead with the photography part. And then, I mean, whatsoever photographs the participants are going to take, we are going to be handing it over to Bernard. Bernard, hence, is going to design the book. And we are also going to give the write-up. And the write-ups are not just going to be on the places. The write-ups are going to be on, let's say, the participants' understanding of the place, or let's say participants' feeling, or let's say a participant wants to write about his or her experience about the tour. So it is going to be a mixed bag of all the things. So that is how, I mean, we are going to be publishing the book. And so this was the concept which initially came into my mind. So when I was thinking about forming this venture called The Scape, so The Scape I formed initially just to make sure that the places of India, and especially the Himalayas, since, I mean, all of us are joined together through the Himalayan thing only. So we thought that we should be going to those places where people have not gone, or let's say people have not photographed in terms of the genre of landscape photography. Now we see a lot of trekking groups going to a lot of places. For example, in the last session, as Cinderella was showing, that is a wonderful route from Rumse to Somori. Now a lot of people have not gone into that terrain. Especially, I mean, let's say a lot of trekkers have gone, but a lot of photographers have not gone. So when I mean, personally, when I saw that, I was like spellbound. Now, this is where the concept came in from. I mean, it was not, I mean, a week before, probably a lot before that. I mean, when I was going through the photographs of a lot of photographers of the unseen places in the Himalayas, then this thought of creating a platform for them came into my mind. And that is what I named as the Scape. So in this, basically what is going to happen is, the landscape photographers from across are going to, I mean, come along. They are going to be producing some good photographs of these unseen places, and we are going to be probably, I mean, after the end of each tour, or let's say after the end of 3 or 4 tours, we are going to be coming out with the book. So it is not just going to be in the digital format, which, I mean, nowadays we play with, but it is going to be the form of a paperback, because we understand that, I mean, for photographers, especially when we talk about the photography thing, it is the print which actually matters. which actually looks good in front of them. So, I mean, if I've taken 10 photographs of a particular place, I see it on computer, it doesn't make that kind of an impact if I see it in terms of a print in front of me. Now, that gives a very, I mean, what do I say? A lot of inspiration, a lot of, I mean, a lot of inspiration to do more and to do good work basically in that. So that is how this concept of the scape came into being. So under this is the first tour that we are organizing, but I mean we are doing it just on the photography front, and at the same time we also understand that we required a good travel partner to take care of the logistics and the facilities, because I mean again I'll briefly explain your concept. So, I mean, when we talk of landscape photography in India and when we talk of landscape photography outside India, there's a huge difference. Landscape photographers in India, they are not into this profession full time. But when we see people of the photographers of outside, they are majorly full time into landscape photography, whosoever is pursuing this genre. Now, there's a difference. Why there's a difference? Because in India, when we talk of these pictures, they don't get that kind of an attention, which the photographs of outside, I mean, photographers, I mean, it works wonder, but in India, it doesn't happen. So in this case, I mean, the creation of this platform that I've done, so it is with an intent of bringing along the photographers together and to make sure that the works of them are actually, I mean, it should actually take a shape in a very proper manner. So that is basically the concept. So under this, we thought of, I mean, organizing this to Zanskar. So Indonilda, I mean, who runs this company called the On-Course Escapades, is our travel partner. Now, we took him as a travel partner just because he has been in this field for the last 16 years. I've been doing it. And when I talk of landscape photography, so I mean, the photographers, they actually need a lot of, I mean, premium facilities just to ensure that they are in a luxury of capturing that landscape. So if, I mean, for example, we understand the Himalayas are a difficult place to be. So for example, if I want to reach a vantage point, I have to travel a lot. I have to, I mean, sweat out a lot and then reach that place. And from there, I mean, if I am not getting that kind of a facility wherein I am actually, I mean, going to a place in ease, then my photography thing is actually hampered. So I am not able to, I mean, do photography properly. So in this regard, I mean, I actually needed a good travel partner who could provide with all the logistics, which could actually help the photographers be at the right place at the right time with the right light and capture the, I mean, fantastic image. So that is how this amalgamation happened between the Scape and the On-Course Escapades. And through that, I mean, we organized this too. So basically talking of Zanskar, so let me show you a few captures, I mean, captured by Indranil Da only, I mean, in his last tours. So Tone, if you can show some of the pictures of Zanskar.
Yeah, sure. It's visible, right? The entire folder?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is the first one. So here it ends actually. So this picture, this is basically from Drangdung Glacier. So it's one of the best locations. Like if we consider across India or even across world, this is one of the best vantage points that we have here in the Himalayas, simply because of its composition and the overall image that it produces. So this S-curve thing, any kind of leading line that leads to a distance object, that is basically one of the main compositional elements when it comes to landscape photography. So we will be camping. This is one of the twin lakes where we will be camping just beside this lake.
Tanay, the full screen is not visible. I mean, the photograph is not visible fully.
The photograph is not visible. Let me check. Just a minute. I'm so sorry.
I just texted you.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Just close and start. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Tanay, if you can open the image.
Yeah, sure. I'm opening. Just give me a minute. Is it visible now?
No.
I mean, we can only see the folder.
You can only see the folder. Okay. Is it visible now? It should be visible by now. Is it clear? The whole image?
It's showing Tanay has started screen sharing.
Bernard? Is it?
It's not visible. We are
Okay,
just
it's not.
seeing a message. Tanya has started screen sharing.
Stop sharing screen.
Indranilda, I guess, is here, right?
Yeah, he has just joined. So
Wait.
if he has the pictures, maybe he can share from his end. I have. Indranil, you will have to unmute yourself.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon,
Yes.
everybody. Sorry, I joined in a bit late. I had some very pressing engagements, so I joined late. I'm online from my mobile, so I don't have access to my computer like the first time when I did this. So I guess is Tanay there? Tanay is.
Yeah, but mine is not working actually. I don't know. Just a minute. I'm checking once again.
Tanay, if you can log out and log in again, that will, I guess, help. If you can do that.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. Just a minute.
So till that time, I mean, since Indranilda is here, so Indranilda, I've explained about the tour and we were actually starting off showing some photographs of Zanskar. And I've told everyone that you are my travel partner and all the facilities and logistics are going to be provided from your side. And since it's a tour, so all the facilities are going to be absolutely premium. So that photographers are at ease in capturing the images from that high altitude. So if you can talk a little bit about the kind of facilities that we will be providing for the tour.
Okay. So, first of all, Nilako, I'm hearing some static in your this thing. So okay, Tanay is starting the screen sharing. Okay, right there we are. Okay, let him continue. Then I'll talk about this.
Okay, yeah, this is the ground room wish. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, sure. So I think Indranilda will be the best person to because he has the one who has clicked this. So yeah, please go ahead, Indranilda.
Okay, so this is Drangdrung Glacier, one of the largest glaciers in around that area. And the beauty of this is that, as you can see, it looks like an S. And another beauty of this is, as you are going towards Penzilla, after crossing Penzilla, when you're going towards the Twin Lake, this falls on your right side. And previously, this glacier is to go over the road actually. So you can see, Tanay, can you make it a full screen?
Yeah, I have to zoom in actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look closely, you can see how the glacier has melted at the at the south side of the glacier, how it has melted. Now you can see that place. This used to be absolutely absolutely out. This didn't look like a flat ground. It used to have a lot of grooves, and the sides of the glacier were pretty much full. And it has become like this, but still, it's a beauty to go be there and see the vast expanse of the ice field, which goes to the end of these. But this is not the end of the glacier. This is just the start of the glacier. It goes around 29 kilometers into the mountain, and there's a huge ice field at the end of at the horizon level, and then it goes towards left and goes ahead of the total scene, which you can see here. So this is one of the main attractions in Zanskar, and the biggest attraction is this glacier is like absolutely by the side of the road. So you're going from from the right to left side, and on your right you can see this glacier absolutely looming out in the open. And this scale is very, as I told the other time, of this scale. The scale is something different. You have to be there to understand the expanse of this place and the mammoothness of this glacier, how big it is. Basically, that's what. Yeah. Then I can change over, I guess. What do you have?
The Twin Lakes.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest attractions in Janskar. So these are twin lakes. You can see there's Lamso and Statso. So you can see Lamso on the further end. You can just see a blue patch on the further end, and
This one, right?
this one, yeah. And then you have the Statso, which is the bigger lake, which you see because you're on the side of this lake. So these lakes are really very beautiful, and we are planning to camp at that green patch which we have in between these two lakes, which people generally don't camp. So my whole idea of camping at these places was that if you can camp at a place from where you just come out of your tent and start photographing, then you don't waste time doing it, right? Because if I'm staying at a place which has ambient light, like in a homestay or something, and a lot of disturbances from there, you have to walk to this place or drive to these places to come to that vantage point and click the photograph. Now that was the whole idea between not staying in guest houses, apart from the fact that the guest houses were avoided because of COVID also. And the second was that you are absolutely at a place, you are absolutely camping. So that's why this whole trip is camping. So that we are, a small town or a small village traveling, and wherever we want, where we see a beautiful place and where we can see prospects of some night sky or a good photo ops, we will camp there straight away. This is our basic thing. So we are like we just out in the open. We have our food, we have our tents, we have our sleeping bags, we have everything what you need, which you get in a hotel. Only thing is the walls of your hotel are made out of stuff. So that's what it's a very old saying. When we used to when we started all these things, we used to say that, do you want to stay in a 5-star hotel or a 5 billion star hotel? So we are going to stay in 5 billion star hotel. When you come out of your tent and you'll see 5 billion stars. So this is one of the major attractions, and we will be camping right beside these lakes. And we obviously, when we get up at night, we can see the Milky Way. And Tanay would be explaining about the astrophotography part here as to how he plans to do it and how he photograph the stars out here. I'm concerned, I'm giving whatever I can give here as far as the logistics is concerned. And from that angle, I would say that when you're into photography and you want to do landscape, so it is better to stay inside the landscape, so that you can see the changing colors of the lakes and the all the fields around you, the sky, the mountains, and you can click everything which is there. So that is the whole idea. Like when you get up, the sunrise and sunset is very important in the mountains, because we have a lot of reflecting colors on the mountains. And obviously on these lakes also we'll have some nice colors. As the day grows, you see different colors coming out, popping out of the lake. So That is why I'm camping, so that at the side of the lake, so that when we just get up in the morning, maybe 5 o'clock, we see different color. By the time we leave this lake, we see different color. And another point of camping in these besides this lake is Drangdung Glacier is very near actually from here. So we want to do some night photography at the glacier itself also. So we get that glacier as well as some Milky Way or stars which can be captured from that point basically. That's what. Yeah. Okay, this is the this is Lamsok, which you were seeing from the other side. I just went to the banks of it, absolutely at the right at the bank, and then I clicked this photograph. This is a panorama photograph. It's not so small. This is, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 10 photographs which are stitched in matrix format. So we have 5 photographs on top, 5 photographs the lower side, and then it is all stitched in a matrix format. It's a matrix panorama. So this is a huge lake actually, pretty much huge lake, which is because I've clicked it in a panorama. Panorama format is looking like that, but you can see the shores how transparent the water is and all the the vegetation which is under the water, which you can see from the shore. Yes. This is Tatso. So now you see the lake, how big it is when you are at the shores of the lake. You saw that lake when I took it the last photograph. That was Statso Lake again, Lamsan Statso. So this is the Statso Lake, and this is like it was looking so small from that top point, but this is basically, I would say, the tent view for us because we will be camping by the side of this, and we are going to get this view when we get up in the morning, and this is where we will be basically staying. That's a better explanation of this picture actually. Yeah. Okay, that's Nungun Peak. This is like beautiful view from Rangdung. So that this is not a water body actually. So it rained, so there was some water which was stagnant by the side of the monastery, just a bit further from the monastery. So it will be photographed because the nice reflection. So this is what you're going to see from Rangdung. And we will be camping exactly by that grass patch. You can see we will be camping there basically with that little shop which is there. I don't know if it is still there or not. It was there a few years back. Yeah. This is the okay from because we are going from Manali. So I guess Nilakya must have told that we are exploring the Shinkula Pass, which is the new route towards Himachal Pradesh. So this will be coming. This is on the other side. This falls nearer if you go from Kargil and you enter Zanskar from Kargil. So this is the Suru village and this is the Suru river, and we will be basically coming from the other side to this side, and because we're coming from Himachal Pradesh. So this is Suru Valley, and definitely we are camping by the side of this river here, and this is beautiful because you can see Noon Peak from here, and the glaciers coming down, and on a clear day, it's like the village is there, and then you see that nice conical peak on top of the horizon, and it's a beautiful view. So I'm just hoping we might get it because we are going pretty much in the best time we can go to Zanskar. So we'll get this, and obviously all the greenery will be pretty much in the bloom at this point in time. Yeah.
So it ends here actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll now quickly explain the itinerary that we are going to follow. So the itinerary that we would be following is that we would be first meeting everyone at Chandigarh. From Chandigarh, on the first day, we would be going to Manali. We would be staying for the night at Manali on the first day. That is on the 31st of July. Then on the second day, from Manali, we would be going to Dharcha. Dharcha is a small place near the famous Chispa town, which falls on the Manali-Leh highway. So we are going to be going there, and we are going to be camping. So first day in Manali, we are going to be staying in a hotel, and the second day from Dharcha onwards, we would be camping throughout. So our first camp is going to be at Dharcha or Jespa, I mean wherever we stop. From there, we are going to be crossing the Shingula Pass. Now, Shingula Pass was a trek route until last 2 years or so. It has just opened for traffic. So, and one requires actually a four-wheel drive to cross that pass. So we are going to be crossing that, and on the third day, we are going to be staying in a village called Kurgyok, which falls on the base of Shingula Pass. Now, Kurgyok is famous because from there you get a direct front view of the famous Gumboronjon Peak. Now, Gombaranjan Peak is a very sacred peak considered from the Buddhist point of view, and it's a very beautiful structure. I mean, in the form of a mountain. I mean, it's a mountain only, so it's basically a very beautiful thing. I mean, when we look at it, so we are going to be camping there. Um, from there, the next day we are going to be moving to this small town called Pune, and we're going to be setting up the camps there. And from Pune, we are going to be doing the short trek to Fuktal Monastery, which takes around 2 hours or so. So Fuktal Monastery basically falls inside a gorge, and it is like it's a great wall, and in between it is imbibed. The buildings, the structures of the monastery are imbibed in that rock. So one gets a very beautiful view of the same. So we are going to be going there. It's going to take around 2 hours to reach that place, and from there we are going to again come back to Pune and stay there for the night. The next day from there, we were going to be going to Padum. Padum is the town head of Zanskar. So all the administrative and every activities happen of Zanskar in Padum only. But we are not going to be staying in Padum. Now that's where the difference comes in of the kind of itinerary that we are following. So generally, stay at Padum and go across different places to visit. But we are not going to do that. From there, we are going to be going to this village called Sani, which is another 6-7 kilometers from Padum, and we are going to be camping by the side of Sani Lake. Now that's going to be a very different kind of an experience. That's going to be a very different kind of a thing. And from there, we are going to be photographing the landscape during the sunrise and the sunset hours. Plus, we would also be doing so Tonai would be talking about the astro part as soon as I finish this, and he would be explaining that how we are planning to capture the stars, the Milky Way, and how we are going to go ahead with that part. Okay, from Sani village again, we are going to be camping the next day in a place called Karsha. Now that's again a very exclusive kind of a thing because generally people go to Karsha and come back during the daytime. But we are going to be staying in Karsha by the side of its monastery and capturing the landscape from there. From Karsha, then we would be moving ahead to Penzilla Pass. Now, generally, what happens is, as Indranilda was also explaining, people come to Zanskar when they come from Leh or from Srinagar side, they come to Kargil. And from Kargil, they enter Suru Valley. And from Suru Valley, they cross over Penzilla Pass and they come to Zanskar in Padam basically. But we are going the other way around. So now we go to Penzilla and we are not camping above Penzilla, we are camping in between the twin lakes of Satso and Langso for the night. Now that's going to be a very different thing in terms of capturing landscape from camping near the lake. Also during the night time, also during the sunset time, we are going to be going up till Penzilla Pass and capturing the Drangdung Glacier from that. Because Drangdung Glacier's view is bang from the Penzilla Pass when one gets a very clear view of the same as the photograph was shown. So we are going to be camping by the side of Twin Lakes and we are going to be coming to Drangdung Glacier and capturing okay, that's it. The next day from there, we are going to be going to Suru Valley and we are going to be camping in Suru Village. So again, Suru Valley has been shown wherein we are expecting a lot of greenery. Uh, in that case, so we are going to be doing photography there. The next day from Suru, we are going to come back. We are not going towards Kargil or we are not exiting via Leh or Srinagar. We are going to be coming back and we are going to be camping in Rangdum. So Rangdum was a place which was again shown in the photograph, wherein from where the Nunankun Pinnacle peaks are visible. So we are going to be camping on the over the green meadows at Rangdum. From Rangdum, the next day we are going to come again cross Penzilla Pass and we are going to come to Padum. But again, we are not staying at Padum. We are going to go to Zangla Fort and we are going to be camping by near Zangla Fort on that day. Again, that's going to be very different. And from Zangla, once we take the new route which has opened, I'm not very sure whether it is still motorable or not, is the Linkshed Road towards Lake. So we are going to be camping near Zangla on that night. From Zangla, the next day, we are going to come back and we are going to again stay at Kurdiok. So that's a very special day for us because that's going to be the 12th of August and there's a schedule of meteor showers which is going to happen on that day. So on that day, we have particularly chosen to stay at the base of Bumbaranjan Peak so that we can capture some beautiful frames at night when the meteor shower is happening. So that is going to happen on the 12th of August. The next day, from Kurgyok, we are going to come back to across Shingula, and we are going to come back to Jispa or Bhansha. We are going to stay there. The next day, we start from Jispa or Bhansha, and we come back to Manali. And we stay there for the night. And next day, we start from Manali, and we end the tour coming back to Chandigarh during the evening. So that is our entire plan. That is how we have designed the itinerary, and it's one of the most exclusive itineraries. I mean, as I was discussing with Indra, Vinil actually suggested the entire thing, and we could actually make it exclusive in terms of photography by making this itinerary. So that is what, and so I mean, this is the thing that we are going to follow. So I'll now hand you over to Sonoy, and Sonoy will basically explain a little bit about the astrophotography.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
mean, talking about the photography part, me and Sonoy both would be taking. I mean, we are more interested in the landscape during the golden hour, during the blue hour, as we say in photography language, and also during the evening time when we are going to do astro. So Sonoy will talk about a little bit about the astrophotography part.
Sure. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. So, I'm basically Tanay. I'm from Calcutta, and currently I'm working with Amazon India. It has just been 2 years I've been doing photography, and I'm blessed enough that I have been associated with so many good friends of mine. There are many inspirations. So, yes, particularly in this tour. So, when Nilakhya first contacted me about that, we are organizing something like this, and we are giving a platform to all the landscape artists, so where they can actually portray their work and where they can actually give their contribution to India and the Indian Himalayas, which has actually not been captured in that way. So the pictures that we have seen of Himalayas, they are mainly by travel photographers, a lot by trekkers, which has actually shown us the potential that what that particular place holds. So yes, so basically. Coming to the landscape photography part, let me first tell you that when it comes to photography, there are different genres. So like travel photography, landscape travel, astro, there are many parts. So we have actually concentrated a lot more in landscape as well as astro landscape. And along with that, landscape also has different other parts like minimalistic, the golden hour shots, the intimate scenes of the landscape, the grand landscapes. There are nightscapes, which is also known as like astro landscapes. So yeah, we will be capturing these parts. We will be portraying this phase of the Himalayas to all of our audiences. Coming to the land, specifically only to the landscape photography, how it works is that uh, for all the landscape photographers, there are like few specific periods where the light is the main role. It actually plays the main role. So what we have to consider here in this particular tour is that since Himalaya itself gives us one of the best compositions across anywhere in different kind of landscapes, it has dramatic light, it has both golden hour lights, it has pink, as well as it has the best nightscapes, basically because it comes or falls under a class of category of night sky, which is basically the darkest of the skies across all over India, because there is so many light pollutions here in the cities that we don't actually see the kind of stars that are there in the sky, and that is only visible when you actually cross a specific class of dark skies. Only then you will be able to see that. So when Nilakatha first contacted me regarding this tour, so my first concern was like, when is the actual time when we are planning this? Because astro landscapes, you have to very minutely figure out the times when you are going for a tour. Because if the moon, suppose if the moon is in a full moon phase, so the light will be so diffused in the sky that the faint stars, they will not be visible. So we have to consider a specific period of time where the moon is in the new moon phase to its half quarter, where we have to capture. So that way, what happens is that we get the most visible part of the Milky Way core, which is the most dominant part when it comes to night skies. Along with that, we will also be capturing meteor showers. We have also planned it as per that. Coming to the core of the astro landscapes. So since the locations that we are having, we are directly camping exactly in the vantage points. So we don't have to trek, or we don't have to either we don't have to trek up, or we don't have to trek down like 2 or 3 kilometers where we get exhausted. So once we get out of our tent, we will be in the vantage point. We just have to get the compositions right, starting from the blue hours and then ending once the Milky Way core is gone. uh, we will have to start from like a blue hour. Once the blue hour comes in, there are different ways we can actually get the best of the Milky Way shots, best of the nightscape shots. uh, Long exposures are basically the most or the basic criteria when it comes to Milky Way shots. The way we actually get it is like we start from the blue hour. We take long exposures of the landscapes of the foregrounds so that we get a clean exposure of the foreground. Because if we get a good shutter speed, say around 30 seconds, and then we are bumping up our ISOs of the cameras. We have to set it up manually. So if we bump up the camera's ISO, it will be a bit noisy. In order to compensate that noise, if we bump up the shutter speed a bit more, get a blue hour shot, and then we get from the same location, we get a Milky Way shot with a slower shutter speed where the stars are actually not trailing. And if you're stacking that, we get one of the bestest quality of images. So what basically happens is that the locations that we are having, we will have a lot of compositions. We will have leading lines, we will have lakes, we will have rivers. In fact, we will even have flowers, because August is basically the best time in Himalayas where you get the maximum amount of flowers. So greenery will also be there. Along with that, how we actually have planned to capture it is, once the Milky Way core comes in, we will have all the participants in different locations to get the different kind of compositions. Suppose, say, if we have like 12 participants, it is not that we will be guiding our participants to get just only one composition or three compositions where they are literally hovering over one another's composition. So we will not be doing that. We will make sure that the participants get the most exclusive images. And when it comes to exclusive images, that basically means different compositions from one place. Yeah, I can definitely say that, yeah, we can get definitely different kind of images, that's for sure. And along with that, when it comes to golden hour images or dayscape or normal landscape images, so we will be traveling either by car, or if once we reach our locations, we will be there on the locations. We might have to, at that point of time, we might have to get the vantage points. In order to get the best vantage points, we might have to trek a bit higher, like just walking, nothing like a hardcore trekking or something like that. So yes, in landscape as well. So there are two ways you can actually get a good landscape. The first criteria is to get a good composition, wait over there until that composition gets hit by a good light. The other one is that we have to chase the lights. In order to chase the light, you have to change a lot of compositions. So that is basically a much more unique, or a much more innovative part, where you have to understand that how exactly you have to do that, or what are the compositions, or what are the intimate scenes that you might can get at that point of time. So yeah, we will be giving all these things to all our participants so that they don't miss out anything when it comes to minimalistic, when it comes to grand, the huge landscape like what Indranil has shown us, like of the Drangdung Glacier. We will also be capturing different light and shades, for which Zanskar and the Ladakh entire region is actually famous for. Along with that, we will also be capturing the nightscape. So there are very few photographs of Zanskar or of Ladakh that captures the nightscape to its utmost beauty. And we will definitely be showing you all what you all can actually achieve. Definitely, we will be doing that. That's from my part. Thank you.
Great. So, Tanay, if you can show some of your images, that
Yeah,
would be
sure.
great. Yeah.
Sure. They're visible, right? The entire screen.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been a trekker as well, not actually an elite trekker like what in the real I have been. Since I have said that I have already been doing it just for 2 years. I have just completed 4 treks. This one is from Sandakphu. There's a place called Kali Pokhri, which is basically half India and half Nepal. It lies in the border. The fencing that you see, that is basically on the road, that's India, and the other side is basically Nepal. So this place is exactly in the border. You will literally be walking just beside the India-Nepal border. Uh, the best part of this particular image is this cloud formation. This kind of cloud formations and the light that is actually gives is like very unique. So we will also be doing this kind of landscapes where we capture the light that is basically coming out from clouds, making the entire scene much more dramatic. If you see at this image, there is just two elements in this image. One is the S curve that's in the right side, which actually leads your eye to the house, which is actually compensated by the dramatic light of the clouds in the background. So this entire scene, it leads from the right to the left, where you can see that this road, it leads you to the from the right. Then your eyes, this bright part of this image, it actually attracts you, the eye that gets attracted, and this actually accentuate and leads you towards this particular composition. This kind of compositions we call like and leading line composition. You have already seen Drangdung Glacier, the best of the escarps that we have in India. We will also be utilizing that in almost like in this same particular way. This is from Gochala. Gochala is basically the trek that takes you to the base camp of Kanchenjunga. Uh, the route from there's a place called Shokha. From Shokha to Zongri, that particular trek route, it takes you from the woodlands. That woodlands, I can say, basically, it is one of the bestest woodlands that you can actually be in entire India. There are very few woodlands that have wooden logs placed in. This woodland is one of those. They have literally placed wooden logs where you will be walking. This particular photo, when it comes to it, that if you check the way I have captured this, there are few things that I have kept in mind while capturing. Point one is that the elements that I want to capture. Point two is the atmosphere that I want to portray. So this is basically an HDR. What by HDR we used to mean in the previous in our like orthodox concept, we used to mean that where from shadows till the highlights, everything will be exposed equally. But there is it with time it actually improvised a lot. There has been a lot of improvements. So in this particular photograph, I have actually captured the leaves that were fallen, the brown leaves. If you can check those are the elements that were the main focuses, along with the entire green moss that got highlighted by the mist and the light and the diffused light. So I had to expose for that particular just this particular location. If you can see my cursor, I just have to expose for this particular light for at one exposure, this particular light for another, and the an entire one with one exposure. Then I have blended all those exposures to bring out only the parts that I want to portray, like this leaves, this road, this entire light, this diffused light, along with this particular tree. This image, this is from Yamthang Valley, North Sikkim. You don't have to trek. A car can basically take you to this place. This actually got featured even by National Geographic as well as Nikon officially. So the entire view is that this entire peak. I was waiting for this particular location to get hit by a particular the light, because there's so much cloud, and when what it happens is that once the cloud opens up, there's a diffused light that hits this snow, and the snow literally glows up. So, and this particular composition is famous only because I love this composition only because it gives you an heart shape. The entire peak region, it actually gives you an heart shape that gets a glow by this particular light, which is why I actually love this particular image. This is what I was actually talking about from the Coachella trek. The entire path, so for around like 3 to 4 kilometers, it is completely placed with wooden logs. You will literally be walking. This actually gives you an impression of an yin yang. So this road takes you from left to right, uh, whereas this particular tree again compensates, basically balances this particular wooden log, which is also basically one of the most important components of a composition, that how we are balancing a frame. You cannot We usually don't keep a heavy object in any one of the corners, because it takes, if any particular heavy objects is taking one of the particular corners or a center frame or any part of a frame, what happens is that your eye eventually get attracts that particular object. We usually used to avoid that, so that your eyes don't get stuck at one particular place. Rather, it basically leads your eyes, there is any kind of compositional elements that leads your eye to a bright part, which actually gets your composition in a much more better way. This is almost similar image. This was captured from like Coachella, from the Zongri top. The Zongri top gives you an entire 360-degree view of the entire range of the Kanchenjunga range. Basically, it starts from Kanchenjunga, then goes to Pandim, then it goes towards the entire 360-degree. When we actually trekked this, we started our trek like around 3:30 a.m. in the morning. Reached there around 5. By that time, it was already completely foggy. And the best part about being in a completely like cloudy part is that once the cloud opens up and the light hits, it gives you the most dramatic images that makes the pictures very unique in kinds of composition. Like if you see this image, there's a fog, there's an entire rail, like a band of clouds in the base, which is again balanced by an entire band of cloud in the top, and only the this peak is visible in between, which actually takes your eyes, or this makes it a single dominant subject of the frame. This is again Prekchu. Nothing to say more about this picture. This is basically taken from the jungles that we actually, or the forest that we actually trek. This is also from Gochela trek that we have actually done. This was also captured from like the Zongri top. This is what I was actually talking about. Like once you get in the golden hour period, and if it is completely cloudy, and this, as you can see, it's completely a rain cloud. So when the light hits the rain cloud, the compositions, the drama that we get in a particular image, that is like you cannot like compensate that with a good simple blue sky image. That basically does not create that impact. This kind of pictures creates that impact that actually draws your eyes to the to the overall pictures. Now coming to, this is an astro shot. There's a very less window that we got in the Zongri trek, for because it was at that particular time it was cloudy. The constellation that we are seeing over there, this particular one, this is Ursa Major, and this particular composition, this is Ursa Minor, and this particular you can see my cursor, right, everyone? Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So this particular image and this particular star that you can see, this one is the North Star. What happens is that entire band of stars that we are seeing in this frame, it rotates clockwise, just centering this particular star. The way I have composed this particular image, why I have actually used this particular composition rather than capturing the Milky Way, is that the tents that were placed in that particular location was actually towards this Ursa Major, what we can see. So that actually leads our eyes to a dominant frame. And if you can see the entire band of stars, this particular constellation is pretty much dominant in the sky, the stars and everything. Even though there's a lot of post processing that is involved over here, this particular constellation is so much visible that it is, you can literally see it from either you can also see it from your cities as well, this particular constellation. So it helps a lot while composing if you get good constellations. So coming to the astros, when it comes to capturing the Milky Ways, the places where we will be going, we literally cannot use any apps like Photopills or Stellarium like that. In order to use those apps, we need a lot of bandwidth for a network that which is actually not over there. So we have to know each and every constellation at what place where those particular constellation will be at what point of time. If you are not knowing that, we cannot compose an image with keeping in mind the Milky Way core. So the Milky Way core generally lies from the southwest corner. Whenever we will be capturing photos in Zanskar, we will be keeping in mind that the compositions that we are having for the nightscape, for the astroscapes, we will be basically pointing either towards the southwest or towards any other dominant compositions like the Orion or like this one Ursa Major or Ursa Minor. Or if you're doing star trails, we have to point at this particular composition, keeping this particular star, whereas we get like entire circular star trails or something like that, so that it creates a different impact in different kind of images. This is again a forest scene from the Gochela trek. This is a panorama. It is basically, uh, as far as I remember, this is composed of 10 different frames. So the first frame is from only this part. So there are two rows that I have captured, five rows, five photographs, and each rows. Then we have created a panorama. That panorama we had again created a like a exposure blending in order to keep everything in a balanced way. When we capture a photo in a camera, it actually exposes either for the highlights or for the shadows, or it average everything's out. And when it comes to post processing, we have to make sure that the way we post process it, we don't like expose everything. What that makes is that it does not attract your eye to any particular point, or it does not your eyes to drags your eye or leads your eye to any particular uh, or the main subject of the frame literally. So you have to keep in mind it very minutely that we are literally doing this particular editing, highlighting only the subjects that are required. This is again a snowscape, basically. Again, same way. I am basically a big proponent when it comes to compositions and leading lines. I follow them a lot. So, a light percolating light, you can already see this branches leading this road leading entire to this particular frame. Again, this is what we call an intimate scene of a landscape. What I was saying previously. This is basically captured with a 450 lens, uh, zooming it all in, the just to get an entire band of the snow patch of the Kanchenjunga range, again balanced just by the clouds, whereas this particular light is actually hitting the snows and making the overall image much more dramatic. So here it ends actually. Thank you, everyone.
Great. So before moving on to some of my photographs, so Sonai basically showed a lot of photographs of East India. I'll show you some photographs from North India. I would also like to say that our Zanskar tour, I mean, we have Nikon India as our equipment partners for this tour. So when I talk of equipment partners, what they are going to do is they are going to provide some of their cameras and some of their lenses, which can be used by us or by the photographers or the participants who are in the tour. So that is going to be a very added advantage, because it happens a lot of us do not have a very high end equipment, and we would want that, okay, if I'm going for the tour, I should have this lens, I should have that camera body, then I'll be able to capture these good images. So we have brought in Nikon into the picture, wherein they are giving the cameras and the lenses. So participants will bring in their own cameras and at the same time would be able to experience the cameras given by Nikon. Okay, so I'll quickly show you some of the photos of the northern region. Okay, so this one is from Pangi Valley. So, and the name of the waterfall is Jugni. So I went there in this year only, in the month of April, and the waterfall was frozen with a small patch in the top, which was, I mean, from where we could actually see the water coming out. And again, I mean, in terms of landscape photography, I could have captured this image in a very normal manner. But what I did was I made a person stand in before a bit just below the waterfall, just to, I mean, show the scale of the frozen part. So that is one. The second one, yeah, this is again from this winter. I went to a town called Kalpa, which is there in Kinnor, and I specifically went during the winter time to capture some of the images during the snowfall. So when I reached here, I mean, it continuously snowed for the first 27 hours, and after that, I mean, the sky opened up, and we were able to get these kind of views. So again, I mean, I captured this with the concept of the sunburst in mind. So especially when you have the sunrise happening or the sunset happening, a particular, I mean, setting of a camera helps you to capture the sun with the rays come down, and we call it the burst, the sunburst thing. So, and if one is able to frame it properly with the right foreground or the background elements, then it brings a very it gives very good perspective. So this is from the okay. This is from one of my treks to Tapovan and Nandanvan in Uttarakhand, which lies above Gangotri. So this image is of the Bhagirathi group of peaks, and which lies on the left, and just below that is the Gangotri glacier. So this was one point from where, I mean, both left hand side Bhagirathi peak and on the right hand side Shivling was visible, the Shivling peak. So and the light was coming. So I captured this image, seeing that. Okay, this is the famous Shivling Peak and the Meru Peak during the morning hour. So this was at around 5 o'clock in the 5 or 5:30 in the morning when the sunrise was happening, and the first sun rays were hitting both the peaks. And since Meru Peak is also called the shark fin of the Himalayas, and this image is very special to me because the shadow of Shivling was actually falling on the Meru Peak, and that is how I captured this. And I got this blue sky. I mean, if you zoom in, I mean, it is not visible. You can actually see the moon right there. Yeah. Next image. Okay, this is from the Nandanvan campsite above Gangotri. So the stream which is flowing here is basically a stream which comes down from the Bhagirathi group of peaks, and the peak that you see in front is the Kedar Dome. So standing here, I mean, I could see these yellow flowers, and I captured this image in that manner so that the flower, the water, and I mean, it actually leads to the peak there in front. Yeah, this is the Shivling Peak during the sunset hour, just before the sun was setting in. There was a beautiful light, and the cloud formation was, I mean, giving a very spiral kind of a composition to me. So I captured this image that way. Next one, Tanay. Okay, this is from Kashmir. I went there in one of the winters. So 2017, I went there in the month of February. And so this is over Dal Lake, the Char Chinar, the famous Char Chinar. And I was rowing over, and on that particular day, I mean, the water was absolutely stagnant. There was nothing. The shikara was moving on, and whatever was in front of me was down below underwater also. That was the kind of sensation that I was getting. So this is Char Chinar. Okay, this is from one of the valleys called Lolab Valley. Now, this was a offbeat kind of a tour which I did, and I went in winters to valleys which were absolutely interior. So I went to Lolab, I went to Bangas, then also places like Chokibal and Chokibal, Handwara. So these were the places basically which I covered just to get the beauty of, I mean, how it looks in winters. So this was from Lolab Valley. So Lolab Valley basically has two lakes in it. I mean, the lakes are not lakes that kind of, but it's called the Bara Talab and Chota Talab. So this was from the Chota Talab, and some interesting formation of the snow, the ice which happened. So I captured it in that manner. Next one. This is just before reaching Handwara, in winter Kashmir only. So, I mean, the most interesting part about this image is that one person who is coming from the front, So we were in our car. We just stopped in between to see the beauty, and the frame was absolutely set in front of me. And we had, as a blessing, I mean, this person was coming with his umbrella. So I got this frame in that manner. Yeah, this is the broken Baramulla Bridge. So if one goes to this place in summers, then it looks like a very, I mean, pretty normal scene wherein the houses are there, the mountains are there. But especially in winters, I mean, it gives an absolutely moody and a different kind. So, so this is from the Baramulla place. I mean, the broken Baramulla Bridge. This is from a valley called Aru, or sorry, Betab in Kashmir. So when one reaches Pahalgam, so both Aru and Betab are tourist destinations wherein most of the people go. But during winters, I mean, it is again absolutely different from the view that we get in summers or autumn or spring for that matter. Now we had a complete snow cover, and the clouds were also playing a good role there. So I captured this image from Betab Valley. Yeah, this is also from Betab. This was the road, and again the cloud formation and the snow made this image a little dramatic. Okay, this is from Ladakh. So again, I did a winter Ladakh trip also, and it was in 2016. So this is a side shot from above. This is Leh town in winter. Now, when a person goes in summer, that these are the trees in between. So a person gets to see a lot of greenery around the Leh town. So this shot I took from Shanti Stupa, and the most interesting feature was um, the leaves were not there on the tree, and the yellow formations along with the white houses. So this is a kind of an urban soundscape. Okay, this is the frozen Zanskar River. So, a very famous trek happens in Ladakh during the winter time, which is called the Chadar Trek. So, the Chadar Trek basically is a connection between Leh and I mean a place called Nemo, and from Nemo you go to this place called Chilling. From Chilling till Padum. So, and the frozen river acts as a winter highway for people in from of Zanskar. I mean, coming to Leh because they are not able to cross Peninsular for coming over to this side during the winter time. So that entire, I mean, the river gets freezed and people walk over it. So I didn't do the Chadar trek, but I went to Chilling to see the place and just to experience the walk over the frozen river. So this is one of the compositions from there. It's a minimalist composition wherein we see a one person or one thing and the entire expanse. Next one. Okay, this is just before reaching Pangong. So again, I mean, if you go in summertime, the grass here is green and formation. But during winters, when you go, the grass is yellow and there are these ice formations around. So this is just, I mean, after crossing Changla and going towards the Pangong. This is the frozen Pangong Lake. Now, in winters, if you go to Ladakh and if you visit the Pangong Lake or the other lakes of Ladakh, it's completely frozen during that time. So this is one of the shot from the lake, wherein I mean it was absolute, I mean totally frozen. So you can walk over it. You can, I mean, do whatever. It's that hard. Okay, this is from the Changthang Plateau. So during my winter Ladakh trip, I also went to this place called Hanle, and from Hanle we came to Chumathang, and from Chumathang we went to Somoridi. So all this was done by a car only. I mean, by being in a car only. So this was one of the places just, I mean, in between, wherein this entire river was frozen. This kind of a vision I got. This is the Stakna Monastery. So Stakna Monastery is basically captured by a lot of photographers from 2-3 vantage points. So this is one of them, which lies when you come from Hemis Monastery towards Leh. So on that route, one is able to see. These are the frozen I mean, it's a frozen crystal basically. The waters of Bangkok. So Bangkok is used in winter, and these are basically the waves. I mean, I don't know what takes place here. So they say that when the water kind of hits the shore in the form of a wave, it gets frozen. I mean, sometimes it gets freezed overnight, sometimes it gets freezed. I guess, I mean, if this is the case, then uh, I mean, it must have got frozen in a fraction of a second. I don't know. I mean, I definitely would want to see this mechanism sometime happening in front of my eyes, but don't know. I mean, so these are the kind of crystals and the formations that one gets during the winter time in Ladakh. So definitely, I mean, under the banner of the scape, since we are dealing with landscapes in offbeat places and not seen Himalayas, we would be planning something in the form of winter Kashmir, winter Ladakh, winter Spiti for that matter, in the coming winters, so that more and more people can visit these places and can take some good photographs. Okay, this photograph is from the Batalik sector. When I visited the two villages of Da and Hanu. So Da and Hanu villages are inhabited by the Aryan race, as they call it. So when there, now this water in summers is all filled with silt and is muddy, but during winters the original color of it is visible. So I got this turquoise blue color of the water. This is the Indus River. I guess it's done. Yeah.
Yep.
So
And yeah.
yeah, so basically these are our photographs, and this is the kind of landscape that we have planned to capture in Zanskar. And we all are extremely very excited for the same. We have Nikon with their cameras there. We have Indonilda as our partner with rest of the logistics there. We have, I mean, for the post part, I mean, also there's one more thing that after we come back, we are going to be helping our participants with the online sessions of post processing the photographs that they will be taking during the tour. So Tonai and I would be giving a 6 hour session to each of the participants so that we can help them in post processing the photographs in the right manner. So that is what. And after that, finally, we are going to give all the material to Bernard so that he can publish a very beautiful book for us so that we can keep it for a lifetime. And then we bank on Bernard for the same that, I mean, it should go to places and it should be seen by a lot of people that something of this sort is happening. Yeah. So, I mean, if I want Bernard to talk about the something, and then we can probably wind up the session.
Oh, hey, thanks, Nilakya. And as I was talking about in the initial, right, saying that these photographs, when I watched Nilakya showing me, and I was like, oh, wow, what are you doing with this? Just get it on the books. Just let's get them printed. Because, what happens is these pictures right now would just mean pictures, but eventually down the lane, it would be memories. And I think as a photographer or as a creative artist, it's very important to cherish these memories. So I think the concept of book is something really good, and I'm very confident about it, saying that this book could make wonders for everyone. That's all from my end, Nilakya.
Great, great.
Thanks, and thanks Vivek as well.
Indonilda, can I mean, if you can say something.
Okay, so I guess right now we have to get this thing on the road. That's the most important part. We're starting on the 31st of July, and we're hoping that we get good weather, and maybe we come back and do another session with ICF with our photographs, which you get since we've done this. This can be a prelude, basically, and then we can do a very exciting session with what we have captured, and then shoot the photographs and show everybody that what we did in the whole tour, basically. That's what I guess. Yeah.
Yes, Indranil, that's a great idea, and maybe
Yeah.
the participants of that tour can also be a part of that session to get
Exactly.
their viewpoints and their inputs. So thanks, Nilakya, Bernard, Indranil, and Tanay, for all your inputs and for the beautiful photographs. And over to the participants now, if they have any queries, they can ask, unmute themselves, and ask their queries. So no queries, but I like I have a general query when Vilakya described the route. So basically, like after a point, you return following the same route. So my
Right.
question would be, why is the return route not different from the route that you initially took? Because my experience has been that we come back when we come back on the same route, somehow like we are tired and we just want to reach home. But if there is something to look forward to, like a place we have not seen, like if you complete a circle kind of thing, then it makes it better. I know there will be logistical problems and other things, but maybe you can explain why you haven't gone the circular way.
Right. So we specifically are coming back via the same route because of the meteor shower which is going to happen on the 12th. We might have exited from Leh or we might have gone to Srinagar and flew back, but we are again taking back that route because we wanted a place we are at the best of the vantage point for capturing the meteor shower. So we identified two locations. One was over Pensila, if we can be there, with the Drangdrung Glacier in front, if we could capture the meteor shower, or else the base of the Bomboranjan Peak, which is near Shingola. So, I mean, in terms of the logistics part and everything, we thought that, okay, Shingola can be the right place because it can be on our way return. And we can be there and capture and catch the meteor shower, and from there we can go back to Manali. So that was the main intent. And apart from that, since we had a lot of places around Padum where we could have stayed, so again the plan was made in such a manner that we spend around 2 days around Padum camping. Then we go towards Rangdong side, and while coming back, we camp at a different place. And also, there's a difference because the route when we are coming back, while going, we are going to be camping near Kurbiok village. All right. When we are coming back, we are going to be camping at the base of Bumboranjan Peak. So that that is going to be let's say around 15-20 kilometers difference. But camping at the base of Bumboranjan Peak and the meteor shower happening is definitely going to be. Just we pray that the sky is clear on that night. So that is all.
Okay, thanks Nilakya for
Okay, I
clarifying
have a
that.
question. Sorry, Vivek.
Yes, sure. Is it Nirja?
Yes, yes. I'm using my
Yeah,
son's
please.
computer.
Okay, please go ahead.
How you see when I see those photographs, I feel as if of course they're very heavenly and beautiful, but are they like touched up?
Yeah, they are touched up, but not to that extent, if I would say. So, whenever we take the photographs, look. So I'll explain you a little bit about the same. So our cameras don't have that kind of a dynamic range which our eyes have. So when we are capturing an image, so we are basically compromising a little bit either on the exposure part or on the shadow part or on, let's say, some of the elements, especially if I talk in terms of light. So then what we do is we come back and we make the adjustments in different softwares that we use, either Photoshop or Lightroom. And then we kind of try to produce an output which is very close to what our eyes saw. So that is what this concept actually works out. And then there is another thing which is what we call as the style of the photographer. So if I talk about an artist or as a photographer as an artist, so every photographer has his or her different style. So if you would have noticed when Pranay was showing his images, his style of photography is very moody. He tries to portray the images in a very moody manner. That is what he likes. That is what his style is. But whereas if I talk about my photograph, a little natural, not on those moody lines. Probably, if I get a moody scene, I would be producing a moody image. So in that manner. So the style of the photographer basically varies. But what we try and do in our photography thing is we try to keep it to very close to the natural thing what our eyes saw. So that is how we conduct this. And definitely to answer your question, the images are touched up. Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there is a comment by Harish. Thanks a lot. Good effort. I got the link from Spark Writers. So maybe he got the link for the tour from this website, Spark Writers. Anyone else with a query, comment, feedback, input? So no comments. Thanks Nilakya, Indranil, Tanay and Bernard. All the best
Thank
for the
you.
tour.
Thank
And
you.
we
Thank
look
you so
we
much.
look for, we look forward to a follow-up session once your tour is over and the book is published. So that's all for now. Pankaj Singh also says, I wish all three of you all the best. It's actually the four of them. So thanks everyone for being present and sharing their time and experience with us. We wish the tour operators all the best. Dipendra Sen is saying nice effort and all the best for your tour. So
Thank
that's
you.
all for now. And next week we will again meet at 4 p.m. And tomorrow at 11 a.m. we will have an informal open house freewheeling conversation with our editing colleagues from ICF. So please be there. That's all for now and have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye
Have a-
bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.